You know, it was a few years ago that we learned this name, Brad Keselowski. He burst onto the scene courtesy of his team, Junior Motorsports. In the past few years, he's made a run at the championship. He's also made a few enemies out there. But how is he trying to change that? We call this the evolution of Brad K.
I feel like I'm proving myself every time I get in a race car. And when the day comes, I don't feel like I have something to prove, that's when I'll lose interest in the sport. I think that there are two different personalities that I carry, and they come out in different ways. I still have that quiet side. In my private life, I don't mind not being the center of attention, but the racing world brings out like that next step in me, that step that is confident, passionate, but you have to know how to let that fuel you. Yeah! If you drove with emotion all throughout a race, trying to get 100% every lap, you're going to knock the wall down at lap 30 and nobody's going to know who you are. They're just going to laugh at you. When I first got into running the nationwide car, or even in the truck series, I got pushed around a lot. I found that when I stopped allowing that to happen, I became more successful. If the penalty for being too passionate is, you know, making a few people mad along the way, I would much rather take that than take the thought of, I didn't care.
Oh, he turns Hamlin. Gets into Hamlin. Look out. Remember, these guys have history from before.
There is always give and take in racing. Will always be. And there's nothing wrong with give and take. But you can't confuse give and take with allowing yourself to be bold.
When Keselowski's team is mad at the 20 team for swerving into him, a lot of heat right there.
I feel like I have an appreciation for my competitors and a respect for them that sometimes they don't see. If you're always worried about the respect of your competitors, you know, you're never going to be able to run up front, to be able to win, and you're not going to be genuine to yourself or to your team. Of course I care what people think, absolutely. I don't want to make my competitors angry, but at the same side, you have to understand that the only time they're going to be happy with you is when they're beating you.
Big time crash there from Brad Keselowski.
I think this was Carl Edwards' payback for what happened earlier in this race.
There's a part of me that looks at Atlanta and thinks of it as collateral damage to an attitude that I have towards racing.
I think we probably won't have as many run-ins now as we've had in the past, and that's a good thing.
To say that I had it coming in more than any other race car driver, I think is probably not an objective view. We're all looking out for our own well-being. So to go out of your way to ruin somebody else's day is to completely sacrifice your own well-being. When you are willing to tear down your own house just to try to get to somebody else's, that is the epitome of defeat. There is no doubt in my mind that the way that I'm doing things in this sport is the hard way. But I feel like it will pay off. It might not pay off tomorrow or this year or even the year after next. But I feel really good that it will pay off in the long run. To have the fans, you know, approval or enthusiasm makes me feel like it's worth it and adds its own swagger to you. Like, you know, everything along the way that I did made it worth it. And I carry that with me. I think that's been a large part to the confidence that I have. I don't think I want to be like all the other drivers. Somebody said the other day, I like Brad because he's not a vanilla driver. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. You're right, I'm not vanilla. I'm more like the Neapolitan ice cream. You know, I have a little bit of vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate in me. And you never know which side is going to come out.
Well, in 110 starts in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, he's managed to make it to victory lane 6 times, most recently in Memphis. And as you can see there, he's finished 3rd in the points a couple of times. Joining us now is Mr. Neapolitan Ice Cream himself, Brad Keselowski. Also the points leader, we should tell you that. He's leading the points by 4 over Carl Edwards. We heard you talk in that piece about lessons and making your way up the ladder, almost in the old school way, coming through the Nationwide Series first. What do you say is the biggest lesson, though, that you've learned in this past couple of years?
Wow. One lesson in particular is hard to define, but there's multiple lessons that you learn just from experience and being surrounded by good people. I had a great teacher in the Nationwide Series in the last few years with Tony Sr. Learned a lot from him, learned a lot of the core values of what it takes to run well. But I also had great car owners with Rick Hendrick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and now Roger Penske that have all taught me something along the way. You know, Dale taught me how to have fun racing. I never really had fun racing until I raced with Dale. And Rick taught me some of, the professional end, and it's part of the teamwork of what it takes to stay engaged with your team and keep them positive, and that whole model that he has of success. And now I'm with Roger Penske, who's all about professionalism and what it takes to, be clean cut and keep your sponsors happy and all those things.
Is that the reason you cut the goatee off?
Well, I originally grew it. A lot of people ask me, I originally grew it because I got confused for Joey Logano a lot in the fans, and I couldn't stand that, So I grew it for that reason. I'm sure there's some fans out there that are just going to call me Joey Logano every time I walk by. But so I grew it for that reason, and after a while, I just got bored with it.
You're talking about gaining respect and doing it your own way, and, hey, I'm with you, man. You're getting the job done out there on the racetrack, no doubt about that. But, a lot of drivers always like to have a lot of buddies on the racetrack, guys they hang out with at the track, that they talk different things about. Have you got some buddies out there that you really trust and that you work with? And name some names.
I mean, not really, no. I've got my teammates. They're the most important ones.
Besides your teammates?
I don't really know. I don't spend a lot of time trying to make my competitors happy. No, that doesn't mean I go out of the way to make them angry, but I don't spend a lot of time trying to go out and go to the next party with them or whatever that might be. And part of that is maybe some of the culture problems that I've had, but I look at it that I spend most of my time engaging my team, trying to hang out with them, spend time with them, and really focusing on my race cars and race team and what they take, what it's going to take to make them run up front and be competitive. And so far, that's working.
We talked to some of the other guys, Brad, about, and we're going to ask the same question again, about how difficult it is to drive these nationwide cars because you have to have them wound up so much, and you can almost hold these things wide open. Well, you did the opposite. You've run the nationwide cars a tremendous amount and went into the Cup cars. What is your opinion on the variant differences in these race cars and how difficult one is to drive versus the other?
Well, a nationwide car is very difficult to drive, and at times can be more difficult than the Cup car. That's what's so surprising about it. And then you combine that with the testing limits in both the Cup and the nationwide series, that it just becomes one of the most difficult beasts to handle of all of racing. So, I certainly sympathize for a lot of the nationwide drivers that are rookies or are trying to get experience, because this is not a good place to get experience. This is a place where you need to be, you need to know what to do before you get here. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to make it.
Wow.
In that piece you talked about, you're probably not doing things the easy way, but you think it is going to pay off. And we've also heard a lot of drivers talk about you have to have respect, because if they don't respect you, they can push you around. Do you see yourself changing, or are you always going to remain this same package?
Well, I'm always evolving. I think as a person, I've changed a little bit, but as a driver, I don't feel like I'm doing many things differently. There's a few things I've done differently that have got me to the points lead right now. That's, being a little less aggressive at certain times, but I've also been more aggressive at some times. The last few weeks, Nashville was an example where I made some extremely aggressive moves, but they were towards the end of the race instead of halfway through the race. So it made more sense. And, the same thing at Phoenix last week where I went for the lead. So, you got to be aggressive. That's what's going to win your races. And that was pretty cool. I went home and watched that a couple times. But, you've got to be aggressive to win races, but you got to know when to be aggressive.
You have finished third in the Nationwide Series a few times come the end of the season, but now you are with a new team. How do you take that next step?
Well, going to a new team was a huge part of it for me. It was a chance to start over. I had great opportunities with Junior Motorsports, but it was a chance for me to start over mentally and to physically start over with a brand new team, brand new race cars, brand new pit boxes, haulers. I mean, everything it takes was brand new on this team. We've had brand new cars. I think this is only my first or my second race where I haven't had a brand new car here at Penske Racing and in the Nationwide Series. So it's a unique opportunity, and the cars are fast. That's a really important piece. I think we can run up front everywhere we go this year, and I really think that we're a legitimate contender to win the points title.
Now, you're an ARCA owner, correct?
Yep.
What gave you, why did you decide to do that? Why would you want to dabble in the ownership side and drive and do all at the same time? What brought that about?
I just love racing. I really look up to Kevin Harvick and what he's done with his template. He's taken it from the Nationwide Series, or he was in the Truck Series, then went to the Nationwide Series. He's been successful in it, and I think that's pretty cool. He's someone that I certainly respect because he's been able to do it successfully and to have sponsors and great drivers along the way. But to me, it's just a pride factor. My family owned race teams as I was growing up, and that was just the coolest thing in the world, to be able to have employees and to be able to share in those experiences with them, when you won or even when you lost. Yeah. And it meant a lot to me. And even further than that is to be able to give opportunities to other drivers like myself who, I had my moments where I didn't think I was going to get an opportunity, and I felt like I could do it if I just got the opportunity. So to be able to give an opportunity, like right now I've got Chad Finley driving for me in the ARCA Series. I mean, we are almost the same people, just 6 years time difference.
Yeah.
And I feel like he can get the job done if he gets the right opportunity. So that's what motivates me to do those things.
That's great.
Brad Keselowski, thank you very much for joining us in
Thank
here
you.
today.